I was born with the name Holly, Holly Brooke, and I used to use that as my stage name, and I put out a song called Where'd You Go with Fort Minor in 2006, and put out a record of my own then too. But things kind of fell apart with my career and my personal life, and so I just retreated up in the woods in Oregon just to get away from LA and the whole music industry and everything, because I felt like I'd lost touch with who I was as a person, as an artist. So I got a little cabin in the woods and set up a recording studio of my own, and because of that, I didn't have to rely on producers or, studios to help me get my music done. I was doing it all by myself, and so that gave me so much freedom and independence that, like, after a year of doing my own stuff, I just became a different person because I didn't have to rely on anybody anymore. And even personally, my finances were in a bad place, and I didn't want to ask my parents for help because I was like, okay, I'm 23 years old, and I don't want to be like every other 23-year-old out there who doesn't know what they want to do with their lives, because I felt like my whole life I was ahead of the game. I knew what I wanted to do. I had a career. And then when things kind of fell apart, I felt like I had failed, my parents. And so I didn't want to ask them for money. So I figured out my own ways to make a living. And one of those ways was I applied for this artist retreat. And all I had to do was do some work in this art gallery in exchange for my rent. So that was really easy. And so the cabin was the place that I lived, and I just worked in an art gallery a couple times a week to pay my rent. And just made music, and I came out of that whole experience feeling like a different person. So then when I actually went to my publisher in New York with a batch of brand new songs that I had done in the woods, and I said, okay, what do I do now? Because I have all these songs, but I'm really not in the music industry anymore, but I need to make a living, and that's the only thing that I know how to do. I'm a high school dropout. I tried 3 jobs, and I couldn't keep them for more than 2 weeks. So I was just like, help me out here. And she said, I think you need to meet Alex the Kid. And she played me Airplanes before it came out. And I knew right away that I wanted to work with him because I liked the combination of that alternative vocal and songwriting style mixed with the hip-hop pop thing. And I also could tell from his tracks that he wasn't your straightforward American producer of pop music. You could tell that he had an eclectic taste of music, that he was from the UK, and so I knew that he would kind of understand where I came from as an artist and know how to make it commercial at the same time, which was always my problem. And so the first beat that he sent me was the track To Love the Way You Lie, and I was still in the woods in Oregon, and I sent him back the hook, To Love the Way You Lie. That was the first song we did together, and suddenly it was on Eminem's record, Rihanna was singing on it, and it blew up. And my whole life changed. I was no longer in the woods. Well, after Love the Way You Lie happened, Eminem invited Alex and I to Detroit to work on Detox. And we kind of presented the I Need a Doctor hook and track to them right when we got there, and they loved it. So it became the song. And Eminem wrote his verses in a couple hours, played it for us in the studio. I was blown away. He's such an amazing artist. And then Eminem actually fought to keep my vocals on it. Somebody said, let's get Lady Gaga. And I was like, I don't want that. And Eminem was like, we are not taking her vocals off of this song. So I got kept on there, and it changed my life. Dre is private, but he is one of the most stand-up guys that I've met in the music industry, I have to say. So nice. Made a point to take me aside and tell me privately how grateful he was for my work on his album and stuff. So yeah, just a great guy.